from 64-bit to talk a little bit about the new ways and the new applications. What are people doing? That stuff is locked down and ready to go. And so we're giving you the opportunity to be there, ready to go with a Longhorn. Very clear technical messages about this, and that would be our simple message and what's important for us to be working on in partnership. If you look at Longhorn as a whole, it's very broad what we're doing. It's easy to say it's a next generation platform. You have to go back certainly to Windows 95 to see something where we did the broad set of things that really enabled more types of applications. What we're showing today is just going to be a small glimpse focusing on this issue of the hardware platform and a little bit of some of the other things, but not even half of what will be there. We've got a rollout schedule that we've got ourselves on and many milestones along that. The next big one will be our touching base with the developers at our developer conference. Overall, you can think of many, many experiences that are different here. You can think of the fundamentals around security, deployment, resilience as being different here. You can think of it as the industry coming together where we support the neat hardware things that have gone on and these new form factors as well. So when we think about it, we always think of platform as being very key. The Windows 32-bit APIs, of course, extended up to 64-bit, and new APIs that we bring in what we call WinFX. That's where this software connection capability I talked about was codenamed Indigo. It's an implementation that takes those web services standards and makes those very rich. WinFX is something that application developers are really figuring out why those can make the applications better. We're leading the way with our own applications. The visualization, the peer-to-peer, the new interface controls, the new user interface guidelines all fit into that. At the hardware level, the exploitation is also very broad. We support multi-core, but the tuning on Longhorn will make that by far the best we've done on that. New storage capabilities, whether it's portable storage, new wireless interconnect. The whole thing for the drivers is we have this WS Discovery that allows drivers to connect up more automatically, have richer capabilities exposed automatically in the operating system. You're going to hear a lot of concrete things there because that's another piece that's been locked down. And we're really saying there's a call to action there around WS Discovery. And then a lot of the fundamentals extending down to the driver level with the new tools that we make available. So let me, I've got actually two sets of looks at Longhorn, but this will focus in on these platform capabilities. And let me ask Shannon Betcher to come up, who's the director of the Windows Group, and give you a look at why this is an exciting platform advance. Welcome, Shannon.
We wanted to take just a few minutes today to show you where we're headed with the Longhorn platform. And really, the Longhorn platform is about one thing. It's about all of us working together as an industry to introduce the next generation of applications. Applications that are fast and easy to develop. Applications that are secure and connected. Applications that are cost-effective to deploy and manage. And most of all, applications that leverage today's hardware to deliver a redefining end-user experience. Well, let's start by taking a look at, a sneak peek at, the Longhorn user interface and how we're using this new graphics infrastructure to improve it. So right away, you'll notice some of the transparency effects and glass effects. If you look closely, you can see the reflection. We're using pixel shaders here and vector-based graphics to scale this opportunity to give you this transparency. You can see some beautiful drop shadows. Let me start this video here so you can see us render this live. You can see as I drag the window over, you see a beautiful blur effect happening. We're also using this to redefine the aesthetic, but also as a functional design principle in the way that we're building windows. So we're giving the user cues, highlights in the buttons, animations in opening and closing windows. Let me slow that down so you can get a good look at it. And again, using the graphics hardware to create this very rich experience. And you're going to see us use this idea of transparency, of visualization throughout the system. Arvin's going to come up in a minute and talk to you a little bit about some of the information management capabilities that leverage this as well. But this is just the beginning. It's going to get so much better as we head into betas and the final RTM. So in addition to the aesthetic, this graphics infrastructure is also going to solve some key problems that exist today. One of those key problems is around high DPI support. Bill talked about high definition coming to the PC. Well, today there are great parts available in high definition. There are great panels and laptops, there are great monitors out there, but customer satisfaction is a little bit low with these products today. And one of the main reasons is that software that's not high DPI aware gets very tiny in this experience. So when you run an older application, I've got a calculator here, in a high DPI mode, you can see how very tiny and small it gets. It's almost unusable. But with Longhorn and the Longhorn display driver model, I can simply tell the operating system to scale up an application. And so here I'm running calculator at 3 times its regular size. I'll tell it to run it also at double the size so you can see the difference. And we're running the same application code side by side here. So at the same time you can run applications in high resolution, high definition, as well as scaling up some of the older ones. So if I'm a CAD/CAM engineer or a high-end animator, I'm going to want to be running my very rich animation or CAD/CAM design program in high resolution, but I also might want to check my email or fill out my time card. This is going to allow people to do that, get the most out of their hardware, get the most out of their software in applications, and really unblock a key issue for us today. So let's move on to software. I wanted to show you an example of the next generation of software. Here we've got an example of an online retail site. We're all familiar with these sites. They've got a little bit of text, a little bit of graphics on them, but they're pretty basic in general. Like, this isn't driving me to come back to this site. It's not creating a lot of customer preference for this particular site. And the reason for that is that these developers want a system that's easy to develop and easy to maintain over time. And so you get driven to this lowest common denominator experience. But with the application model in Longhorn, let me show you what the next generation application of Media Mania might look like. Now when I click that button, I opened up this new type of application. From a systems administrator perspective, this is just a web page that I opened. But from an end user perspective, this is a rich Windows application that gives me great visualization, great navigation controls. You can see the highlighting here. You can see the live animation in the background happening. Let me use those scalable graphics, vector-based graphics, to show you an example side by side of the new and the old. So here we've got a live 3D model, a rendered model, an animated icon. It really gives a rich experience. You can see how sharp that is being rendered next to an older style bitmap type of icon. And from a developer's perspective, the effort to create these on Longhorn is about the same. So we're going to see a lot of much richer experience for the end user. Let me zoom out and let's start using this application. I'm in the mood for some Beatles tunes. I'll conduct this search. And what we're doing here is we're kicking off a web service call to a publicly available web service on the internet to pull back some information. So we're using the same text and graphics that I showed you on that initial web page, but this client is rendering it in a much richer, a much more compelling user experience. You can see here, the application model allows me to zoom in. It's reflowing the text automatically for me. It's resizing the graphics. A great experience for the customer. I can even take it one step further and use some of the 3D capabilities of the Longhorn platform to create a carousel view that's very interactive. I can zoom in on the different albums, I can page through them. I can make a web service call out to get product information about the back of the CD. I can go ahead and show you the high-speed animation here. This is all hardware accelerated. You can see how it's using that hardware. I can go ahead and buy that album. Great checkout experience. I'm done. So this is a simple example of what an online retail experience might look like, but it's really just the beginning. So how do you become part of this next generation? Well, this week it's important for you to focus on the driver model, as Bill said. For the capabilities that I showed you here, it's important that your hardware is supporting the Longhorn display driver model. So you're going to want to attend those track sessions and really invest in making those drivers reality. On the software side of things, you should start thinking about the next generation of your application. If it's healthcare, how are you going to enable doctors to view detailed patient charts? If it's supply chain, how are you going to use visualizations and connectivity to deliver a great supply chain experience? So it's really just the beginning. So thank you very much, and join us in the next generation. Go back to you, Phil.
straightforward. So those are just a few things on the security front. If you had to take one area that we put the most investment in to our releases, the security area would be head of that list by a significant amount. Let me talk about deployment. There's a lot of effort between the hardware manufacturers getting machines set up, or customers getting machines set up, the different language versions that they have to deal with. It's quite complex. Here, what we're doing is really radical. We've taken their checklist of things they wanted and doing those hot patching without rebooting, a great migration capability so that if you've got an older machine, you want to move to a new machine, we help with that. One binary. We've had many binaries in the past, and so you've had to manage those for the different languages. Here, this is the first time we get to that single binary. Image-based setup. There's been a lot of manual installation that has to take place on machine after machine. Here, it's all done in an image-based way. And so, getting the independence so you can bind to that hardware environment early, you can bind late. You don't spend a lot of time doing those things. A lot of good dialogue there, and we've been able to make a big advance in this version. Reliability, we're taking the idea of Watson, which was that crash data that comes back to us and lets us see which drivers are doing particularly well, which ones are having problems, what applications are having problems. We've taken that to a whole new level because we have a much better ability to record what's been going on in the system. Think of it as a flight data recorder so that anytime there's a problem, that black box is there helping us work together and diagnose what's going on, and then taking the updating capability and using that to make sure that even before any other user runs into that same problem, that it doesn't happen to them. Completing that loop, understanding when the first user gets a problem and avoiding it for all the rest of them. We as an industry can deliver far better experiences because we have this infrastructure in place. The kind of monitoring and analysis of that data, and then the mutual analysis we do of that together. Performance, a lot of emphasis on having it be sort of like a cell phone. You push a button, boom, it's there. There's many things technologically that means. It means S4 hardware, big deal for us. It means really smart caching, so we're going out to the disk a lot less. In fact, we'll have a number of benchmarks that will stun people in terms of starting applications up, using memory in a better way. We call this the super fetch capability. We do a better job moving files around on the disk so that they come in far more rapidly. And we also have a very smart way of doing resume from Hibernate. So you can go all the way down to Hibernate. We're also able to use non-volatile memory now as we come up, so we know which things we don't have to fetch back into memory. So a lot of things that perceived performance, the difference between, hey, why does a phone turn on quickly, what does a PC do, and just the general performance of going in and moving around in applications will feel very different on this release. In terms of device drivers, this is something we're always putting more in. It's a strength of Windows that we have the breadth of device drivers, and we really appreciate the support we get from all of you on this. There's been challenges getting drivers out, getting them updated, making them easy to install, easy discovery, reliability, and every one of those dimensions, the tools and approaches that we're using here will make a big difference. The driver foundation, a lot less code to write. The driver kit, better ways of testing these drivers. The way we're going to do driver verification and put signatures on there. We understand the variety of drivers and special approaches that work in terms of getting those through quickly. Even a class of drivers, unusual drivers, where we can understand those and get the signatures on them so that most customers will go to only using signed drivers. That's been our expectation over time, and we take a very big step here. Working together on Windows Update, that's something that's come along. Windows Update has become a very key tool for Windows users. Over 20 billion downloads during calendar 2004. And even as we look at the trends, it's up over 50%. We can see the benefit of this if we take driver crashes and compare a 6-month period to a 6-month period. we've got a decrease of about 80% in those driver crashes. So we were able to take the big classes, some things in display drivers, antivirus, some of the storage add-on things, and really work together with you to get those things to be better. More can be done, but the tools here are there to make that straightforward for us to do. So underneath the covers, a lot going on with Windows, including the new display driver model that enables some of those things that you saw demonstrated to be so efficient. Now, if we move up to the top of the system, I'm not going to focus in on these or even talk through them, but that's where a lot of the work goes on. Mobility scenarios, getting, when you undock, making sure you're replicated there, connecting up to the wireless network. If things aren't working, how do you diagnose that and have that be straightforward? Sharing and collaboration, the media capabilities, advancing in the system in a pretty dramatic way, building in a lot of photo richness that we've never had before in the system. So experiences are a place that we think you should just turn on the system and have something that's pretty fantastic. We did want to pick one of those and highlight it a bit because it's been a very big deal. How do you visualize and organize your information? As we changed the WinFS file system to be something that's a runtime for developers and not in the core shell itself, I think people naturally misunderstood that meant we weren't going to do a lot on visualization and organization. In fact, Longhorn, I'd call this out as something we are doing something that's pretty amazing and relates to what we've been showing over the different years. By doing indexing, rich indexing in a smart way, we can get a lot of these capabilities without having to go to a full database. As we eventually move to that database, WinFS, it's a natural migration, but a lot of the benefits come and things that I think would be pretty surprised about in what we're doing with this inside Longhorn. We're not just saying you search. Search we're going to make really great, but we can avoid you having to search for things by making it easy and natural to organize things. We're going beyond the file system that, yes, we have a long name there, but in terms of the different ways that we had metadata on those files, we weren't taking advantage of that, and that meant people weren't putting the metadata on. Here, ISVs will think of it in a different way, and users will thinking about it in a different way, and it's going to enable people to work in a pretty different way. So let's go ahead and get a glimpse of what we're trying to do in visualization. I'd like to ask Arvind Mishra to come out and give us a little look at that.
All right, as Bill said, my name is Arvind Mishra, and I'm going to walk you through a high-level overview of some major features in the product that will make the lives of information workers just a whole lot easier. First thing I want to talk about is arguably one of the most important areas in the product, and it's all about Longhorn's ability to visualize, organize, and search for information on your PC. It starts, very simply, with the Start menu, because that's the place in Windows where you go to start something. Start anything you like. And in Longhorn, it's going to get even easier for you to start something. If I bring up the Start menu, you can see now we've got a field, a text entry field down in the left-hand corner. Now all I have to do is type in the name of an application. I just type in Note, and I hit Enter, and I'm into Notepad. If I think of something that's a little bit harder to find, that we use periodically, like Solitaire, because no one ever plays that, I just type in SOLI, Enter, and I'm into Solitaire. It's just that simple to launch an application on the Windows PC. I will never launch one, personally, the same ever again. Let me show you a richer experience around desktop search. And this is our new Windows search experience. Now, for those of you out there that are really tied to the dog, unfortunately, the dog is going away. But that being said, the search is going to work powerfully, and it's going to be integrated. For starters, I'm looking for a document or a piece of content. It contains the Latin word no numi. So I'll just type in no numi, and I'll hit Enter, and boom. I instantly get results across my email, across my documents, across my photos, and across my music. It gets better, because in the beta 2 timeframe, you're going to be able to search over RSS feeds as well as past internet sites that you visited. And for our corporate customers, it's also a fantastic platform, because from my Longhorn PC, I can instantly search any other Longhorn PC that I have access to, I can also instantly search SharePoints. And lastly, I can instantly search, in the future, Longhorn Server. That, in a nutshell, is our desktop search experience. What I'm about to show you is the thing that puts Longhorn over the top. It's the thing that we're doing and no one else is doing. It's going beyond search, and it's all about being able to visualize and organize your content in the way that you probably think about it in your head. So I'll start by bringing up the Document Explorer. And for those of you that are upset that we use My Documents in Windows XP, we're getting rid of the My prefix. So My Documents is now Documents. My Photos is now just called Photos and Videos. And in Longhorn, the Explorers are the most perfect way to view your information. And we're going one step further to help you visualize your information in some more interesting ways. For starters, when I select a document, you can see down in the bottom, we have this area called the Preview pane. This allows me to get a lot of rich information about whatever it is I'm looking at without having to right-click and go into the Properties page or the third tab. It's just all right there. The other thing that we're doing is, you heard Bill say, we're moving beyond icons. Indeed, we have these new types of thumbnail icons, we call them live icons, because they actually give you a live snapshot of your data. Indeed, I can take this nifty little slider control and I can blow my documents up to a very large 256 by 256. That is indeed the very first page of that PowerPoint. That's the very first page of this Excel spreadsheet, and that is a Word document. We've even applied the same treatment to our folders. You can see here that these are the top documents in my folder. It makes it really easy for me to see if perhaps that's the chart that I'm looking for right there. I know it's in that folder. I can click in there and there you go. I got instant feedback. I know before I go into a folder that what I'm looking for is actually in there. The thing that you might have noticed is up here there are these blue things in this the documents folder here. There are these other blue things. What are these things called? They're new. They're called, quite simply, virtual folders. Virtual folders are sort of like regular folders in that, I can double click on them, I can open them up, and I can see, all the contents inside of them. But unlike a regular folder, they're not static. They're dynamic, meaning anytime I click on one to open it up, it instantly goes across my hard drive, and it finds all the files that meet a given search or metadata or property criteria. In the case of the All Documents virtual folder, I click on this, and there you go. It instantly goes across my hard drive, and it finds every single document, and it just presents it to me as a flat list. So you can see here that I've got 402 documents that I'm using for today's demo. The other thing is, our virtual folders show up on the left-hand side. For example, I've got an author's virtual folder. I select this, and it takes the same 400 documents, and it instantly puts it into neat little stacks organized by author. I've got another one for keyword. I select that, and it instantly gives me a view of the same content, now organized by keyword. Dynamic views. Think about how you would do that today. It'd be kind of hard. You'd have to have the foresight to organize all your content into folders organized by author, and then you'd have to have a parallel tree of folders organized by keyword. You'd have copies and shortcuts, and it would be a mess. It'd be really hard to get a dynamic view like this. And so in Longhorn, we're making it really easy to get all sorts of flexible views. Okay. Here's a common scenario. I have a friend. He recently sent me 5 documents, 6 documents or so. I don't know where they are. I just put them on my hard drive somewhere, and I didn't remember where I put them. I didn't open the documents up, so it's not like I can do a desktop search to find them. How can Longhorn help me find them? Well, for starters, I might remember some very vague properties about the documents that I'm looking at. I'll start by going to the All Documents virtual folder, and the first thing I remember, perhaps, is that the documents that I'm looking for are authored by my friend Brutus. So I'll just go in and type in Brutus into the top right-hand corner into what we call the quick search box, and you can see that we quickly went from 400 documents down to the 42 documents that have something to do with Brutus. They have Brutus in the name, or they're authored by Brutus. In any case, these are 42 documents that have something to do with it. The next thing I remember is that Brutus and I are working on an advertising project together, and so I'm guessing that it probably has something to do with that. So I'll just type in advertising, and I don't even have to type in the whole word. And look, it just filters down to the 6 documents that I was interested in finding, and I can see that they're indeed the ones that I was interested in, because I can look at the thumbnails and know that, hey, look, those are the 5 documents in one PowerPoint that I need to collaborate with Brutus on. Okay, the thing about it is that how I think about my information is probably not going to be the same way that you think about your information. In fact, you guys are probably all more organized than me. But the thing is, we built flexibility into the system. So there's a myriad of ways that I can get to these same 6 documents. Let me show you another way. This time I'll start by going to the author's virtual folder. I'll just select it, and again, it's all 400 documents on my hard drive, neatly stacked by author. And I'll select the Brutus stack, and I'll drill into it. And you can see here that these are the 42 items that are authored by Brutus. Now, this is kind of an unwieldy view. I can't really see or easily pick out the 6 documents that I'm interested in seeing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a new view that we call this the group by view, and it allows me to very simply group my content by a specific property. So I'll go up to the keyword column header control, and I'll just say group by keyword. And there you go. Those are the same 6 advertising documents that we just found. It's just that easy. I just found them in basically the way that I tended to think about them at the time. Okay, so here's the thing. In some cases, you're going to have a document that maybe has multiple contexts. For example, this one document right here, it's currently an advertising document, but maybe there's something about it that has something to do with finances. And so sometimes in my head, I'm going to think about it in the context of finances. How can we see this in the context of finances? Well, for starters, I can just select the file, and I can go down into the keywords in the preview pane here, and I can just type in finances. Hit enter, and there you go. That file is now showing up in both places. I'm going to take a step back. What did I just do? Did I copy the file? No. Did I put it in 2 different places? No. What I simply did was just add an additional file property to it, an additional metadata property to it. Here's another way that I can add properties to my files. In the case of the navigation pane, our virtual folders show up here, and I can expand the keyword virtual folder. And you can see these are all indeed the keywords across all of my documents on my hard drive. I can very simply just grab this PowerPoint. It'll let me. Okay, I'll try this document right here. And I'm going to make this a finances document. I'll just drag it over here and drop it. And there you go. It is now a finances document as well. It's just dragging and dropping. It's just that easy to add additional properties to your files. Of course, we're going to make it very natural for you to add properties as well, because the most natural place would be when you're creating and saving your files. And so we have a new common file dialog, or a common dialog box for you to, when you open and you save your files, where you can also add properties at the time when you're saving your content. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about is a brand new concept, and it's going to be very powerful for information workers to be able to collaborate with. The idea is that very frequently we're on a project team, and the trouble is that when we're on this project team, we probably have a set of documents that are important to the team, and they're just scattered across the storage universe. I mean, they're on your PC, they're on servers, they're on SharePoints, they're on other people's PCs, and there's no easy way for you to get a comprehensive view of every document that is important to your team. With this new concept that we like to call, very simply, a list, I can package up a collection of shortcuts into one file and use that to give me that comprehensive view. Let me show you how it works. I'll bring up what we call the list pane, and it allows me to just to grab files and drop them in here. I can navigate around the system. I can go up to different servers and whatnot. Let's see, I'll take some Gladiator recruiting documents here. And I'll just drop another document over here. And pretty soon what you end up having is a list that ends up looking like this. And you can see here that there's a bunch of different items in here. They all have explicit order. I can even put instructions on every individual item. But the thing is, if I blow these icons up, you can see that these aren't the actual items. They are just shortcuts or links. So now, all I have to do to give my team the view of all the documents that are important to us is just drop this thing into an email, send it to everybody, and provided they have access to these files, all they have to do is click on the link and it immediately takes them to these resources. The thing is, it's actually going to get better, because in the beta 2 timeframe, we're going to be building these things on top of RSS 2.0, which means that you could publish these things to a server or to a SharePoint, and then your participants could basically just use their RSS readers and subscribe to these lists and have data just automatically show up on their PC. All right, so that in a nutshell is our story of how we're going beyond search, and we're taking visualization and organization to the next level. But after you find your information, typically you want to do something with it. You want to take all this graphically rich information that I've been showing you and that Shannon's been showing you, and you want to be able to share it. And when I say share it, I mean being able to view it in an application-independent way, or being able to print it. Because, as you all probably know, when you print graphically rich things, what you see on screen is very frequently not what you end up getting out of your printer. And so, I'd like to tell you about a capability of our Longhorn graphics platform. And it's all about a new fixed document format that we've codenamed Metro. Metro is built on top of XML, and indeed we're giving out the draft spec today, and I'd like to tell you that we're making this fixed format, Metro, available to the world royalty-free. Indeed, you can create these documents on any platform and consume them on any device of your choosing. So let me show you how this works. I have a PowerPoint document. Of course, the marketing guy has a PowerPoint document. And I'm basically ready to send this out to the field. The trouble is I don't want the field to be able to edit this document, and I also want them to be able to view this in an application-independent way. So maybe they don't have PowerPoint or something. And so I've gone ahead and I've created one of these Metro documents out of my PowerPoint. And you can see here that I'm just viewing this very naturally in Internet Explorer. I've just got 2 slides in here. It's a very graphically rich document. The thing about this Metro document is that it retains all the fidelity of my original piece of content. For example, if I do something crazy, like I blow this thing all the way up to 400%, you can see that the text looks as good as it would on a piece of paper. Actually, no, sorry, it looks even better because I've got vector graphics here, and all the text, it's not getting jaggy, it's not getting pixelated, it just looks totally natural. Okay, so let me show you, let me actually print this because that's where the real magic happens. And it's printing. Okay, so what I've got over here is a printer. It's a first of its kind, one-of-a-kind printer right now. It's brought to us by the fine folks from Fuji Xerox Engineering working for the Xerox group. And this printer has a built-in Metro interpreter already on it, meaning when I hit print over here, it passed my document all the way over here. It didn't need to convert the document, and it processed it natively. Not only that, it's able to print this 40 to 70% faster than a normal conventional printer, and on top of that, it's going to retain all the fidelity of my original content. The thing I want to tell you is that in Longhorn, the new native spool file format happens to be Metro. So anytime you print something, whether it's a photo or a document, we will automatically generate one of these Metro documents. And if you happen to have, on the other end, a Metro-enabled printer, either it has an interpreter on it or it has a Metro printer driver, your customers are going to see phenomenal print output. Let me show you what I mean. Okay, if I could bring up the, you'll see up there I've got the digital copy alongside what came out of this Metro printer. And you can see here that it's retaining all the graphical fidelity. We've got the transparencies, the specular highlighting, all the gradients. Now we did a little experiment. We printed this on a normal enterprise class color printer, the ones that you probably have in your offices today. And this is what happened. It got butchered. I mean, all the transparencies, all the gradients are just gone. This is the bad copy. This is the good copy. Bad, good. The thing is, I spend a lot of time making marketing materials. I mean, a lot of us do if we're in marketing. And at the end of the day, I think I'm going to want my content to look like this instead of this. If I'm printing my photos at home, my one-of-a-kind photos, I'm going to want them to come out of a printer like this, not like this. Okay, so I've thrown a lot at you today, and I would encourage you to go to the Metro sessions because they're going to give you a lot more information about this. But you've seen how Longhorn can go beyond search to help you visualize and organize your information in frankly, the ways that you think about it in your head. And you've also seen how Longhorn can print and let you view graphically rich content. I know it's a lot of stuff, but there's even more in the product that you're not even seeing today. On behalf of the product teams, I just want to say thank you so much for listening to me. You guys have been a great audience. Thank you.
Display capability that can be run with a Longhorn display driver. In fact, most hardware will meet these requirements today. Something that we can talk through, make sure we get this logo out there so that we're not having anyone hesitating to buy because they're worried if they buy hardware now that it won't be ready for the new operating system there. So a good opportunity to work together. Second is that as we're putting together Longhorn, we're going to give more opportunities for PCs to be labeled as enabling rich experience in areas like media capability, tablet capability, performance, things like that. And so we're coming up with the Longhorn logo program that'll let PCs with unique capabilities to unlock Longhorn's capabilities be highlighted in a special way. We don't have those plans fully put together, but it's a good time for dialogue now so that we can both start our planning and make sure that we get the right thing to come together there. Overall, in terms of marketing, we're going to put more marketing behind Longhorn than we have behind any thing we've had in the past. And we're seeing with a number of partners a great opportunity to do more coordination on that than we've done in the past. The timeline, first of all, let me caveat the timeline by saying that our key goal in terms of Longhorn is that it be by far the highest quality release we've ever done. We're going to, at every stage of the way, listen to feedback. And so it's possible some of these milestones will change and we'll choose to put more time to things. But the schedule we'd like to achieve is here, and certainly the progression we're going to go through is exactly as shown here. The next big milestone is the Developers Conference. We're looking at that in the September timeframe. Then, of course, a year from now, we'll have another WinHEC, and things will be even further along. We've got the, that's this, okay, sorry. We have the PDC that was the original kickoff. Then we have this WinHEC. We have the beta one coming out this summer. Then we have the PDC for developers later this year, targeted for September. And then after that, we'll get up to Beta 2. Beta 2 is where you'll see all those end user features, and you'll really see, okay, this is what the final product is going to look like. Now, this is the client timeframe. That's separate from the server timeframe. I want to emphasize again that today we have locked down the key hardware-related things. The graphics display driver, the Metro format, the WS Discovery, all those things that enable you to go out and do your piece, both for Longhorn and, of course, for 64-bit independent of Longhorn, running with the releases that we've got out there today. The server roadmap is very similar, but there's a couple of releases here in between now and then that it's key to understand. Today's releases, the 64-bit releases, then we add a number of features where we don't change the bottom levels of the system, but up on top in terms of departmental server capabilities and networking capabilities. The R2 release brings in some very neat things. For example, that branch office server, we can make it so much easier to administer, so much less traffic having to go out to that. A lot of things in the Active Directory area, a lot of things in the storage area, but not going back into the core of things that we've updated here with the 64-bit release. We have a very focused release that's around compute clusters that comes out a little bit after the R2 edition. This is to make sure that in that very high-end space, we've got some very innovative scheduling things that really advance the state-of-the-art in cluster computing. And then finally, the Longhorn server itself. All we say about that schedule-wise is that that's likely to be in calendar 2007. And so it's not the same time as the Longhorn client. Will take at least some additional months for the kind of testing we do and the unique server pieces that are there. That's where the great foundational stuff I talked about come into play, but also new server type features. And so that gives you a sense of where all of those releases are coming into play. So it's a very exciting set of opportunities for all of us. PC ecosystem stronger than ever, good growth, good innovation, a very competitive framework. End users are getting a good deal. A lot more variety out there as things like tablets.